Finally, after 3 months of hibernation, club football is back. Yes, I know that Confederations Cup was held this summer in Russia, but let's face it, when it comes to international football, if it is in the World Cup or the Euros or even the Copa America, no one really cares about international football. And what happened in the Confederations Cup? Germany performed well again. That's a surprise. Anyways, back to club football. The Premier League starts this weekend and it's gonna be faster than ever. Guardiola and Mourinho will be under severe pressure this season as they have spent a shitload of money on new acquisitions this season and much will be expected of the two teams. Now Conte, the manager who won the Premier League last season, is also under severe pressure after being forced to sell Matic to Manchester United and also having to settle for Morata instead of Lukaku, who went to Manchester United. Now Pochettino hasn't added to his team of last season and will be under severe pressure if the club fail to produce the performances of last season. Now Wenger and Klopp, the two managers who made up the top 6 last season, will be hoping to be in the mix of the title come May 2018. In a first for English football, the opening fixture of the Premier League will be held on a Friday night. Now the Premier League has been experimenting with Friday night games recently, but it is the first time ever in the history of English football that the top flight fixture of the season will begin on a Friday night. So what has the Premier League in store for us on the opening weekend? Well, let's find out. The 2017-18 campaign begins in London as Arsenal take on the champions of the 2015-16 season, Leicester City. Now Leicester's fall from grace last season was monstrous, leading to the sacking of Claudio Ranieri, while Arsenal finished out of the top 4, meaning they will be without Champions League football for the first time in Arsene Wenger's time at the club. Both the clubs have made decent signings in the transfer market. Now, while Arsenal broke their transfer record for Alexandre Lacazette from Lyon, Leicester City snapped up Vicente Iborra, who was the Seville captain last season. On to Saturday's action now. The early kickoff sees Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool going to Vicarage Road to face Watford. Now Klopp guided Liverpool to a 4th place finish in last season, meaning a return to Champions League football at Anfield after a gap of 2 years. Now Mohamed Salah was signed by Liverpool from AS Roma, as well as Dominic Solanke, the young promising English forward. As for Watford, after barely escaping the relegation last season, they have signed 13 players in the off-season with the hope to avoid the same nerve-wracking end to the season. Antonio Conte's Chelsea begin their title defense at Stamford Bridge against Burnley, who just like Watford barely managed to avoid relegation last season. Now Alvaro Morata was the high-profile signing for Chelsea after allegedly missing out on Romelu Lukaku, who signed for Manchester United. Now they have also signed Frenchman Bakayoko and German Rudiger to shore up the defense. Now Burnley, on the other hand, have sold defender Michael Keane to Everton among others and will most probably once again struggle to survive in the Premier League this season. Two managers new to the Premier League take on each other at Selhurst Park. Frank de Boer starts his reign at Crystal Palace with a fight against Premier League newcomers Huddersfield Town, which are managed by another PL debutant, David Wagner. Now, Crystal Palace have been relatively quiet in the transfer market as the Dutchman has signed only 4 players. Now, whereas David Wagner has been busy in the market signing 15 players, including the ones on loan. Now, David Wagner will be hoping that his spending comes to fruition and Huddersfield are still in the Premier League come May 2018. Big spending, Ronald Koeman's Everton are the host to Mark Hughes' Stoke City on Saturday. Koeman has spent nearly 100 million on the likes of Keane, Pickford and Classing among others. Now Wayne Rooney has also joined on a free transfer from Manchester United. Now this spending is clearly an intent shown by the owners to claim a stake among the big boys this season. Now, Mark Hughes, on the other hand, has not spent a single penny on transfer this season, as all the signings he has made has been on Bosman transfers. Now, Stoke City are usually among the relegation contenders, but the new season always brings new hopes, and for Stoke fans, they will be hoping that staying in the Premier League isn't the primary objective of the club this season, but probably that is something they will have to contend with. Southampton finished a disappointing 8th last season given their performances recently in the Premier League and would be hoping to improve, but given the amount of money that the teams above them have spent, they may find it difficult to move above 8th. Now add to that they have not spent any amount of money on attacking options is surprising given the fact that they allowed Jay Rodriguez to leave the club. Now they face Swansea City, who barely avoided relegation last season, and with the only addition of attacking intent being Tammy Abraham from Chelsea, who is 19 years old, it is hard to see how Swansea City will not be among the relegation contenders once again this season. Bournemouth and West Bromwich Albion finished 9th and 10th last season, but were closer to the relegation spots than they were to the top 4. Now the clubs finished above defending champions Leicester City and would be looking to build on their high positions of last season despite the obvious point difference from the top. Now Hawthorns is the venue for the potential 6-pointer between the two. Now Bournemouth has spent big with Nathan Ake and Asmir Begovic being signed from Chelsea. Now manager Eddie Howe will be hoping that these two players form the backbone of a strong defence as they look to secure another season in the Premier League. West Brom manager Pulis has gone for Jay Rodriguez from Southampton in a hope that the striker will ease the scoring troubles that faced the club last season. Premier League debutants Brighton Hove and Albion face an extremely tough opener as they host Pep Guardiola's Manchester City at the former stadium. The runners-up in the championship last season are the bookies' favourites to lead back to the championship, but the club has spent a fair amount on new players, including breaking the club record for Dutch international Davy Pröpper. Their opponents, on the other hand, have smashed transfer records this season. They have bought left-back Benjamin Mendy for £52 million, a record amount for a defender, breaking their own record for Kyle Walker, which they signed earlier in the season. Now Pep Guardiola will be under pressure given the spending and the reputation he has, and a second trophyless season would not be taken very well at the Etihad. On to Sunday's action now. In the first match of the day, newly promoted Newcastle United faced last year's runner-up Tottenham Hotspur. Now, Rafael Benitez had overseen the Magpies' return to the Premier League after relegation a couple of years ago. Now, many feel that Newcastle United will struggle in the Premier League this season, but facing Tottenham Hotspur on the first day is the perfect opportunity for Benitez and his team to prove the doubters wrong. Spurs, on the other hand, haven't added to their squad of last season, which has been extremely worrying for the fans, and Danny Rose's recent outburst is the kind of thing that has destabilized Mauricio Pochettino's side before the start of the Premier League. The final game of the opening weekend takes us to the Theatre of Dreams as Manchester United take on West Ham. The Old Trafford outfit has spent close to 150 million on players this season, and just like Pep Guardiola in the blue corner of Manchester, Jose Mourinho will have to prove his mettle this season, and 6th won't just be good enough. Now, West Ham have also bought some decent players this season, noticeably Javier Hernandez, the former Manchester United striker, who has come to the club for 16 million, and for that price might just end up being the bargain of the season. The Premier League season rarely fails to disappoint, and hopefully the opening weekend of the 17-18 campaign is no different. We will be back to review the opening weekend of the season soon. Now, till then, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is Abhimanyu signing off.